And we're good. So good morning. It is Sunday morning and we have a big treat. Some of us are in front of a green screen. I think Tom is in front of legit beautiful water, some harbor in Florida. Maybe he's gone kayaking or he will be going kayaking. We're glad he took a moment to come on dry land with us. It's a pleasure. My name is Uri Schneider from Schneider Speech, and today it's a big privilege to have a few minutes to share with my good friend Tom Scharstein. Tom is a person who stutters. He's an entrepreneur. He's a great guy. He loves being on the water. He does great things and, really enjoys giving back. And in this next phase, we're going to hear about his insights in his own journey, his insights being involved in the supportive community, the work of the National Stuttering Association, and a newly launched group, which I'm privileged and excited to be a part of. Tom launched the Worldwide, is that what it is? Worldwide Stuttering Network?
World Stuttering Network.
World Stuttering Network. Forgive my misspoken word there, but it's really okay. And the story here is that Tom always impresses me when we have the conference in hot and humid places in the middle of the summer. I'm usually more dressed than others. I usually wear slacks and a polo shirt, and Tom is always going with the nice crisp shirt and the collar stay, often a pink shirt. And we have a running joke. And so today I put on the most outrageous shirt I own, which, being a pretty conservative guy, this was the best I could do. But Tom shows up in a t-shirt and totally undercuts the whole effect. So,
however, a pink t-shirt.
I do appreciate the pink. So it's good to have you, Tom. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself for anyone that doesn't know you.
Okay. Thank you for having me this morning, Uri. My name is Tom Scharstein. I live in Jupiter, Florida. I'm 55. I'm a person who stutters. I've been involved in the stuttering support community since 1997. I've just made some incredible friends, such as Uri. Stuttering has proved to be a blessing to my life and made my life richer. And I would have never thought in my younger days that I would ever make such an incredibly horrendous statement, but it's true. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's go right for that, because I'm all interested in the multiplicity of stories, and everybody gets where they get in their own way, but there are some common themes. So, at what stage of life did those things start to shift, and what were some of the ingredients or parts of that process, moving from one point of view to a very different one, where you could say something as outrageous as stuttering has enriched your life and brought a lot of good things in that you otherwise might not have?
A story is a very common one throughout the stuttering support community. We grow up not exposed to other people who stutter, and we think that our life is ruined. We've got this thing, the stuttering thing that's going to keep us and limit us from doing the things that we want to do. And then something happens. Someone shows confidence in us. We have an opportunity. We find a stuttering support organization and begin to be around other people who stutter. But something happens and life just opens up. And my story is a very common.
So what was that? I love that. Someone shows confidence in us. We have some experience that we thought would go very differently, and actually a door opens up, or the disaster that we catastrophized in our mind kind of didn't play out. It actually played out quite nicely. What were some of those pieces in your journey?
When I was 23, someone had this crazy idea of putting me into construction management. At that time, my stutter was significant, and I didn't think that I would ever be able to do it, because that involves talking to subcontractors and suppliers and customers. They had this crazy idea that I would be able to do it, and from that point, it was the first time someone ever showed confidence in me, and I began to, it was a horrific experience at first. People would hang up on me. People would call the owner of the company and ask him not to let me call because it took too long of a time. And I remember that he told the major supplier, these are multi-million-dollar contracts. He told him that if you can't deal with Tom, you can't deal with us. So he actually put he put their contract on the line that they now had to deal with me. And so having a champion like that in my life, that's what changed it for me. And then things began to get better. You know, not all of a sudden, but just day by day, it just started getting better. I had less fear and less apprehension. So you'll find that story, like I say, common throughout the stuttering community, that there's an ally, there's a champion that just changes everything.
And that really sheds light on how I see you operate in the hallways at conferences, being that champion, and whether it's a fist bump or a pat on the back to some of the young people, to give them that. It fascinates me, Tom. I'm often asked, and whether it's a young person who's been awarded to be the valedictorian or salutatorian or a bar mitzvah or confirmation or given a toast, people who stutter often have different feelings about what they want to do. Some are itching to stand up at the podium and just be given the opportunity and the time to say what they have to say. Others would be terrified to be put up there and would prefer to take a pass. And I'm a big believer that everybody's got to figure that out for themselves. It's got to be a conversation where all the options are on the table. But it fascinated me in your story that your employer, I was curious if there was a conversation about that, or your employer just put it out there like that. If you can't deal with Tom, then we're not doing the deal. Was there a conversation, or he just went out on a limb and went there?
He had that private conversation with the supplier, and my upper manager told me about it just about a week later. And it was at the point where I was going to throw in the towel and I was done with it because I was so discouraged. But that's what really, I mean, that just renewed me.
Wow. So what would you say if someone's listening and they are a parent, a teacher, a speech therapist, and there's a young person who stutters, and there's clearly some concerns on both sides, and there isn't a conversation being had? What would you suggest would be a good move as we're getting back to the school year? People are starting new jobs. There's all these conversations that are left unspoken. Any tips for employers, teachers, parents, how to navigate this with young people and young adults?
Keep doing your best. I mean, doing the best that you absolutely can. Stuttering can be a hindrance towards advancement, but keep showing up on time. Keep getting your tasks done. Keep learning. Keep trying to move the company forward. When you get that opportunity, so it's going to be tough, but stick it out.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's another point to really put across. You know, we saw this amazing kid, Braden from New Hampshire, at the DNC convention. Obviously, craze. Kid is amazing, 13 years old, and he gets up there in this video and speaks openly, and he's got plenty of stuttering in there. But what really was shining was his spirit, his confidence, his message was so on point. And as a communicator, world-class communicator. And the fact that he had interruptions in his fluency was more of something that earned him more stripes, but it certainly wasn't what made his message any better or worse. And so in that conversation, I'm interested, and I think about how when you watch the video, and so many people have shared it, I'll be writing more about it. You know, when the Vice President, Joe Biden, met this young boy at a rally, first thing he said to him was, "You're smart, you're good, you're handsome, you can do this. You know, your stuttering doesn't define you." And then he went on to say, "I work with 25 people who stutter, and I'd love to have your number. And I know one of those 25, and I wonder if there are more than 25 that the vice president actually stays in touch with." What's interesting is this idea of the stuttering experience being hidden. Not everyone stutters on the outside. Some people manage to kind of tuck it in, hide it. I know there's different ways people talk about that. And for example, my last conversation with my friend Daniel Greenwald, his aunt reached out to me. She said, he's my nephew. I know him for 43 years, and I never knew all the stuff that he talked about his stuttering.
Wow.
And I've met parents that come in with kids who stutter. And when the father steps out of the room, mom turns to me and she says, you know, my husband doesn't know, but in high school, you know, I avoided raising my hand. I turned down a lot of opportunities. And even today, I switch words sometimes. I said, you're married 20 years and your husband, no, I don't talk about it, but I thought you should know. And so a lot of people talk about stuttering as the repetitions of sounds, and they think anything else is some other stuff. What can you tell us from the inside, from the point of view of a person who stutters and knows what you know, this idea of covert stuttering, or the experience that's sometimes invisible to the outsider, but very much the intensity of the stuttering experience for young people and young adults?
It's a very hot topic right now, the covert stuttering, and I'm glad that you brought it up. I don't believe that a person ever truly gets over stuttering. I think that even in times of great fluency, I always have the inside stuttering. I always think about stuttering. And the covert stuttering is becoming quite the topic of conversation today, because we're finding that the definition of covert, or they used to call it closet stuttering back in the day, is really not the definitive of that whole group of people. When we think of closet stutterers, or the stereotypical covert stutterer, you know, we think of this person that doesn't raise their hand, that doesn't talk, that if they're going to stutter, they don't go there. You know, they don't order what they want to because they can't say the word. You know, we think of this quiet, reserved person, but in actuality, there's people that are labeled as covert stutterers that are very active in the public speaking realm. They're contest winners in Toastmasters, for instance. They're business leaders. They're salespeople. They're lawyers, doctors. But so the difference is that just because a person doesn't enjoy stuttering, avoid stuttering, maybe switches words on occasion unless they actually have to say that word and they know they're going to block and they're fine with it, or if they have sentence starters, just because a person has a strategy like that, you know, doesn't necessarily mean that they are afraid of stuttering. So you've got the person that doesn't enjoy the physical act of stuttering and so avoids it, uses tricks, uses strategies. And then we have the person that truly has the fear of other people hearing them stutter. And we're just now starting to have that conversation, and it's a it's a groundbreaker. I mean, There's a lot of new thoughts and new ideas.
So what would you feel?
Very fascinating.
What do you feel is the shift that's going to kind of come from that? What new understanding opens up as we unpack that?
So you hear the phrase, it's okay to stutter. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you should just go ahead and freely stutter, think it's okay, and that something's wrong with you if you don't think the physical act of stuttering is okay. Okay, it's also okay not to stutter. So as we get through this, just another understanding for those, and acceptance for those who choose not to stutter.
Yeah. So it's that nuance. It sounds like that nuance, you know, sometimes there's a feeling as an outsider that I've picked up that for too long, people who stutter feel like speech pathologists, sometimes communities, families, employers, have made it unsafe to stutter, have made it unacceptable to stutter, have made it something that they have to control, restrict, and make sure it doesn't happen. And there's a response to that, which is, you know what? This is how I talk, and I'm going to say what I got to say. And if you can't hear it, you should get help. And it sounds like what you're saying is this later development, maybe only because of that very strong message that I think was pretty predominant for some time, is that there's legitimacy to people that are communicating, that are out there, they're going after the relationships and the jobs and the opportunities that they choose to go after. They still choose to do things to either manage their speech in some way that works for them or switch words. So they're still ducking or dodging or doing something about managing their speech. They're not deliberately stuttering as intensely as they can, but at the same time, they're out there going after what they want. So they shouldn't be thought of as people who are, I don't know, managing their stuttering in a unacceptable way. Would that be fair?
That would be very fair.
Yeah. I think it's great because I think what it does is it opens up more opportunities of options. My dad and I and our team are very into restoring freedom of choice. People, I often tell people, why are you here? And they'll say, well, I want to stop stuttering. Okay. And then what are you going to do? Because you stop stuttering, you can just, that's the magic pill right there. And that's the most severe speech impediment you could have. So what do you want to do? You don't want to stop stuttering. There's something you want to go after, and stuttering is in your way. So then people say, well, they tell me I shouldn't switch my words. And I wonder, hey, listen, there might be a situation where that's legitimate. And there might be a situation where sending a text message instead of making a phone call is legitimate. I think or not raising your hand is legitimate. I think, tell me what you think. I think what's not acceptable is the person who compulsively does that and never chooses the other option. But if someone feels free at certain times to raise their hand, at certain times to say what they want to say, and at other times text message or not raise their hand, to me, that's freedom of choice, and that's okay. What are your thoughts?
I'm a big believer in freedom of choice and meeting people where they are with stuttering. I can only speak for myself. I use word substitution. I use sentence starters. Yet there's some certain phrases where I have to say the exact words, and I know that I'm a block on those words, but that doesn't hold me back from anything. I'm in a lot of business meetings, a lot of business settings where timing's crucial, and my strategy gives me a fairly good flow. So I'm happy with it. So I just meeting people where they are with hold me back stuttering, I think is pretty critical.
Amazing. We got a couple people watching here. I just want to bring everybody up to speed. Again, my name is Uri Schneider from Schneider Speech, and we have the treat to be talking with Tom Scharstein. And he's not using a green screen, so that's pretty cool. He's sitting there where he is. And we're going to hear some more about his story and perspective and insight, and then we'll learn more about the World Stuttering Network, which is his new project. So thanks for tuning in and joining us this morning. Tom, what are your thoughts? Big news from the DNC with Braden, and then the subsequent, coverage. Carl Coffey, I thought, did a fantastic job.
Yes, he did.
Really crushed it. And I'm glad that I got to him when I did, and we're scheduled to speak in about a week and a half and have a conversation like this, because I'm sure he's real busy now. But what are your thoughts about what was important there, and what are some of the things that might be misconstrued? For example, the New York Times article was pretty atrocious, but I just shared the CNN coverage that Dennis Drina set the record straight with Stuttering 101 facts. What are some things that you think could be misconstrued, and what do you think are some of the exciting takeaways from that exciting step forward, putting stuttering on the stage?
So the most exciting thing is we could have a president that stutters. think of the advocacy and the education that is going to happen regarding stuttering if former Vice President Joe Biden is elected to president. I mean, it's going to be amazing. So he thought that the buzz around the King's speech was spectacular. I mean, if Biden becomes president, so the world's going to open up. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So it's kind of fascinating. Former President Biden said at first that he used to stutter,
Right.
and I see the shift change where he's talking more and more about the challenges of stuttering, and I think we see a little glimpse, that former President Biden is
Former vice president, not to correct you there.
former Vice President Biden is openly admitting to still stuttering.
Yeah.
That it's still a challenge. It's a cool thing.
I worked with I'm sorry, go ahead.
Shout out to Carl Coffey for being he is just warming up. I mean, Carl will continue to be a giant in the stuttering support community. He's just getting started.
I was just wondering if you gave him any fashion tips or maybe dance moves.
No, I think Carl's got his own style.
Amazing. I would take lessons from both of you. Something you said about that, struck me. Right. So Biden's evolving story, and I think some of it is a controlled story, and I think some of it's an authentic story. I've sat with people. I was with the father of a young girl that was stuttering, and he was very open about the fact that he used to stutter. And as he's telling me that he used to stutter, he's telling me he used to stutter, and he doesn't stutter anymore. And at the same time, he's telling me, but I want you to know that I have this big presentation at work, and there's this big thing I got to talk about. Our next big development, it's going to be, let's say, in the Bronx in New York. And the word Bronx, man, has always been hard for me. And the night before the interview, as cool as I am, as many interviews as I've done, as many presentations as I've done, I'm freaking out. I'm anticipating having to say that word. And so there was this dichotomy of, on the one hand, in the very same moment, a very successful person, a very comfortable, relaxed person, not a person that someone could ever say is an anxious personality, not an underachiever in any way, saying in the same sentence, I used to stutter, and stuttering as he's saying it. So there's something he's putting behind him, but at the same time wanting me to understand that it's still part of his lived experience. Can you shed light on that? Because for a lot of people, that is hard to tease apart, and I think it relates to the vice president and what we see there. I think a lot of us see the same thing happening.
I have never said that, and I don't really have that mindset that I used to stutter, because stuttering is always with me, even during my fluent times. I think that maybe perhaps people find confidence in thinking that they used to do this thing, that they used to stutter, and now they're doing better. I don't think saying those words actually helps the rest of us. I don't think that that's encouraging, because people look at that and say, well, why can't that happen to me?
Yep. Yeah. No, I think from a messaging point of view, I couldn't agree with you more. We need to shift from anything related to I overcame it, I beat it, I fixed it, I cured it. 100%. I just think it's interesting when you listen to people tell the narrative, they dance between these two things. And I wonder, and maybe I wonder about younger Tom, I wonder if when that man was telling me that, what he meant was the 8-year-old kid version of me who stuttered and had a lot of avoidance and fear and never raised his hand and never thought he could be loved, never thought he could get married, never thought he could be a father, never thought he could get a job. That's not me anymore. It's still a big part of me, but he's trying to, I think what I got from that was he's trying to separate himself from the earlier experience, the earlier version. And I guess I just wonder for you, talking about what was Tom like back then? Were you strutting your stuff and as well dressed and as confident and as successful as you seem to be today? Or, what was the younger Tom like? And what are some of the differences in the ways that you live with your stutter today as opposed to then? Some people might not believe, if they met you earlier, what would they have seen?
So once again, I think that my story is a fairly common one. Growing up, I would have been looked at as being shy, as being quiet, as being the non-performer, the person that doesn't raise their hand, doesn't volunteer, the person leading a partial life. So I think that's a common story. That's just and we're changing that nowadays because kids are seeing examples of people walking the talk. Whereas when I was growing up, the only person who stutters that I had exposure to was my father. My father would have been a closet stutterer. He didn't, if he thought he was going to stutter, he wouldn't talk. My mom made all of his phone calls, and so that was the example that I had growing up. I think nowadays, look at what the exposure that the kids who stutter today have. All of these people. We get champions like you, Carl Coffey, and I could name, Pascal, and it just Marvin. I could just go on and on and on. Derek Mitchell. I could just I could give you 1,000 names of people that are making it happen today, even though they stutter, that these kids have exposure and they've got access to them.
And I think if you're not fortunate enough to know some of these superstars that Tom just mentioned, you're getting to hear it straight from Tom today, and he's among those superstars. And I would also say that there are many samples if you're a parent or if you're a therapist or a teacher, and the young person that you love and care for has not seen other successful people who stutter, other people communicating freely with stuttering. There's lots of video footage available. You can see on our website, schneiderspeech.com/movies. You can see the Transcending Stuttering documentary films. You can also go to the blog page. We have a collection of all the stuttering films, short films, long films. There's so much available from across the web, from across many different places. So you can get that on our website. You can also go to the National Stuttering Association. You can also go to the Stuttering Foundation of America. You can also go to Friends for kids who stutter. And then there's also SAY, Stuttering Association for the Young, also has a wonderful collection of videos. So I think there's great value for people who have not yet had that chance to meet such role models, like Tom mentioned. Take advantage for yourself first, to screen it for yourself, decide if it seems like it might be fitting for that young man or young woman that you care for. And it can be a very delicate thing for young people to see another person who stutters. And at the same time, it can be a very important thing at the right time, in the right way, in the right context. So I just want to encourage everybody, if you don't have a chance to know someone or talk to someone, take advantage of all the videos that are available online. So Tom, good transition. Tell us, what was something in the past couple of years that you saw evolve in the self-help community, in the National Stuttering Association and other associated spaces like it, that you were really proud of, big accomplishments and steps forward? And then we can talk about where you're going next with the World Stuttering Network.
I would say what we're doing right now, and this is just evolved during the pandemic and then the subsequent lockdown. We had talked about having online chapter meetings for years. No one really did it. There was maybe half a dozen.
Yeah.
Then with the lockdown, people were basically forced to try this new Zoom out. and there's literally been hundreds of chapter meetings and support group meetings through Zoom, and people like it.
Yeah.
People who stutter, myself included, I mean, it's very difficult looking into a camera and watching yourself stutter. So this is something that we really had to get comfortable with. But what an amazing opportunity. I mean, you meet all these people from around the country. They are no longer a Facebook profile picture. Now it's a real person. Meet all these people from around the world, and you're able to travel to the different chapters and support groups. I mean, this in itself has just been incredible.
It's kind of like the best version of No Child Left Behind. You know, the idea of bringing first what many organizations did by creating little seed programs and chapters around the country. But then when it went virtual, and I think big shout out also to Stuttering Hangout and Stutter Social. I think Stutter Social really was on the forefront of this before COVID, the concept of having online meetings using, it was a Google Hangout platform or Google Meet platform. But certainly everybody that knows what they're doing has jumped on with Zoom. And I think, as you said, I think it's surprising to a lot of people. I still hear a lot of resistance from people who want help. They want help now, but they're so aversive to Zoom. I say, look, give it a shot. My dad is over 70 years old. He's the most face-to-face, in the present moment, in the presence of one another kind of person. And he was so aversive. I said, you know what? Made a big Zoom meeting. I said, hey, come have a chat with Dr. Phil. 70 people showed up, and the engagement, he saw how people appreciated to feel connected, especially when other connections were more limited because of the lockdown and COVID and social distancing. And from that point forward, he closed his office. He closed his physical office. He went all in on Zoom. He's working with more people than ever before. And he says he's doing better work than ever before. And so I think for anyone who has the feeling of a need for connection, is feeling isolated, the self-help community has really leaned in. Every organization has leaned in. Good therapists have leaned in and made things available. Certainly on our website, you can check out, we have a free meetup for teens every month. We have a free meetup for adults. We do movie screenings. We have special guests that are interactive. And we also have an online course. It's like an online learning experience, totally accessible from anywhere, totally engaging, totally individualized, but something that's freely available so that we can really, everyone should be safe and everyone should be well. And there are people that need our prayers and need our thoughts and need our help during this time. But if we're well enough, we should recognize that there are opportunities today to access support, like with some of the organizations that we mentioned, as well as professional help if that's what you're looking for. Again, freedom of choice is on the table more than ever before. And of course, there are more things that need to be done. And I think that brings us to your next big disruption project. What is the World Stuttering Network?
So if I could circle back and Marvin Wiley started something a monthly and so he had this idea in specific breakout rooms that would cater to different groups of people. Stuttering Block Party. There's a Facebook page. Holds that on the last Friday of each month. He has all kinds of stuff. It's a very cool thing. So I did want to mention that. The World Stuttering Network. Had this idea. What would happen if we brought all of the stuttering support group leaders and going station aware ideas on. So you'll find that some entire work going to
Tom, can you hear me clearly?
You have
Oh,
other
you're
support group
breaking up.
or
Can you hear me okay?
yes, I can hear you clearly.
Because I'm hearing you choppy. So I think it might be on
Okay.
your, yeah. So I
Okay.
posted the link on the feed of the video for the Stuttering Block Party. And if you could pick up right after that, I think we may have missed some of the valuable words you were sharing.
Okay. So the World Stuttering Network. All the support group leaders from around.
Again, can you hear me
Forum
okay?
where we can share ideas. Yes, I sure can.
Internet is choppy. I think it's your internet. I
Okay.
don't know if there's anything you
So
can
is this
do.
better?
Yeah, let's give it a go. I'll just give you a sign, the hands up, if I think it's
Earphones. Okay. I and Patricia Hedinger from around the world into one. They have a forum where we could might have the only support group to the leaders, hundreds of
Tom, I
to bring everyone.
think we're having a connection problem. I ask if anyone's watching, if you could drop a comment. If you hear Tom clearly, I'm hearing every other word. I think it's an internet issue. I don't know if you can move anywhere or get a little stronger signal.
Try the.
I'll just talk for a moment while you might try that. And I'll just say that I think what Tom was saying was the World Stuttering Network is trying to solve the problem. There are some group leaders who might be more isolated. They might find themselves in different parts of the country or different parts of the world, kind of operating in a solo kind of fashion. And the idea was to create some sort of global network to connect people who are looking to run support groups and help people who stutter around the world. And what if we could share resources? What if we could share ideas? What if we could share solutions so that nobody is kind of isolated from one another and without kind of some of the barriers of different organizational affiliations. So I think that was the idea of the World Stuttering Network. Tom, are you back with us?
How am I coming in now? Can you hear me okay?
I think we do now. I don't know if you were able to hear me reiterating what you shared.
Fantastic.
All right, take it away.
Philly. Yet we support.
Tom, it's choppy again.
Don't need it. I am so sorry, Uri.
That's okay. That's quite all right.
Yeah.
It's like I talk about these moments like stuttering. You just got to hang in. And
Okay.
It's a Zoom stutter. So, you know, if you want to try to persevere, let's do that. If it feels too choppy, I don't know if you have any solutions in your end, whether Wi-Fi or data or moving, let's give it a try once more. And if it chops, we'll roll with it. Go with the flow. Ride the wave.
Ride the wave.
Go ahead. Now we got you.
Okay. So the goal is not to have affiliations or not to have any competitions between any of the support group leaders. I mean, everyone stays with the organization that they're with. The STAMA support group leaders should remain STAMA support group leaders. They're just part of this conversation. They're part of this network. Since there's no money involved, there's never any stuttering network. What we'll also do is we will help any stuttering support organization in any country that wants to create a network of support groups, we will help them more than just instructions on a website or documents that we email to them. We're going to actively help them. So that's something that they're very excited about.
Wow. So if like UAE, which has a budding organization, I'm just trying to think of more far off countries, Papua New Guinea, or I don't know, some far out country, you will literally give them the support to build the infrastructure and the organizational support and the resources to develop the kind of things that you've been a part of and have led, and you'll do that, and there's no cost, there's no money involved. It's all, you know, from the benevolence of one another's, you know, experience and knowledge to share those resources freely and go above and beyond, not just giving out PDFs, but really, you know, giving the support that's necessary to get something to be sustainable and strong and to provide local in your language, in your country support, and then kind of creating a web of exchanging of ideas that builds around that and pulls them into this bigger connectivity. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Wow. So how can people find out about this or be a part of it or help?
If you're a support group leader, contact me, and I will link you to our Facebook group.
And what's the best way to contact Tom Scharstein when he's not out kayaking?
Through Facebook Messenger. My email address is tomsharstein@yahoo.com.
Okay, I'll put that in the comments. So people can message Tom on Messenger, Tom Scharstein, and then I'll put his Yahoo email address as well. Unbelievable. So I'm interested in the kayaking, and I was wondering if you could share what kind of understanding or connections, if any, because I'll share what I thought, but you know, the activity of being outdoors. I know you enjoy being on the water, stand-up paddleboard, kayaking, etc. Do you find some kind of interconnectivity between that experience and your experience as a man with a stutter, navigating life? Any kind of lessons you take from those activities or from nature? Any connections?
So the people that take their kayak out in a leisurely paddle and they enjoy the scenery and take their time, Uri, that's not me. I mean, I've got a goal. I'm here. I'm going to start here. I'm going to paddle as hard, as fast as I can. 15 to 20 miles later, I will reach my goal. I am trying to paddle all of South Florida right now. It'll take me about 2 years, but I'm going to see everything. And I am lucky to have the partner, Lisa, that is right there with me.
Wow. Well, that is, wouldn't you say that's a parallel, Tom? Because for you, you're very goal-oriented, you're very driven, you have ambition, you create a vision, and you execute on that vision. Other people, and it's another legitimate personality type, kind of go with the flow, literally meandering and exploring and being in the moment. And as you said, very leisurely. There's no end game per se. It's not about where you get to, it's about where you are. That's another kind of personality. But I think I would suggest the thoughts that I reflect on as I've got both parts of it. I've got something more similar to you, and I got something more similar to the other. But I'm a runner, and I think about my training, and I would imagine some of your activities being similar. You set a goal. Right now in August, I got my tuchus off the couch. I said I got to get back into running. I was in shape for half marathons, and I didn't get far out of that shape, but I did let go of my running routine of just 2 or 3 times going running for a good half hour to an hour a week, and I could feel the change. And so August 1st, I committed myself to, you know, run 2 to 3 times a week, 4 to 5K.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, and then by the end of 2 months, my goal is to be able to run a 10K again, you know, under an hour comfortably.
Excellent.
So those are some smart goals that I set for myself. But then last weekend, I was walking and I walked right into an electric scooter with the top of my foot,
Ooh.
and I still have a massive cut, and my foot was
Ooh.
killing me. And I said to myself, how am I going to stay on pace? Because I also set up accountability for myself. I said, anybody that likes my post on Facebook about getting myself back up to shape, you'll hold me accountable. And if I don't come through, I will donate $18 to the charity of your choice. If I do come through, I ask you to do the same with your resources, give $18 donation to the charity of your choice. So this injury forced me to kind of make a decision. What was I going to do to adapt? So I think of, for those of us that are goal driven, it helps us push forward, but there's always the need to adapt the plan. Sometimes we can't be so headstrong to just keep pushing. And then on the other hand, sometimes, and I think of waves very often, surfing, for example, when a person stutters, or any of us when we talk, the sound wave is a wave. Nature is full of waves. The moon waxes and wanes. We all have sleep cycles that kind of go up and down. The water of the ocean, the tide of the ocean, the waves. And speech is very much riding the wave. And a surfer can't ride when there's no crest. So it's about the timing, about knowing what you want to do, and then catching those moments. When you try to push something at the wrong moment, that's not an opportune moment, whether it's in business, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in speech, whatever, it ain't going to go. It's about catching the waves. And so paying attention to the waves of life and riding the wave. So that's what I thought of when I thought of riding the wave with you, but I didn't realize we had to get around Florida. So you're going around the entire peninsula. Is that the plan? Or give us a sense of what you're talking about with this goal.
All of South Florida has just hundreds of natural areas and springs and rivers, and it's just a wealth of paddling opportunities. Lisa and I sat down and we pretty much mapped it all out. It'll take us about 2 years to see everything, but that's the end goal. And
Wow.
it is just a wonderful bonding experience for us. We have started to become bird watchers, um, of which I'm not supposed to talk about because Lisa says that makes us sound old. But we have started watching birds on um, our kayak trips, and we're just having a blast.
That's
I
awesome.
I have developed a fascination with alligators,
Close
and we
encounters
see
or just
quite a
fascination
few.
from
Oh
afar?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
I was about to say, how can we come out kayaking with you? But I think you lost me there
Oh, okay.
with the alligators. Alligators and sharks are not my cup of tea, but you want to share with us your closest encounter of these amazing creatures?
I was on the Lochahatchee River about a month ago by myself, no cell service, and I just really enjoyed just the solitude, and I enjoyed the challenge of it. It was a very technical paddle, and the river narrowed to about 15 feet across. There was tall grass on one side, so you can imagine where the story's going. Out of the corner of my eye, I see this big tail slithering into the water. Gators to to uh, um, to establish territory to let you know that you're getting too close. They'll do thrashing in the water. Right next to my kayak, I don't know what size it was, but it was thrashing right next to my kayak. It's a total surprise. That was my closest encounter.
And what'd you do?
My heartbeat just started, it excelled about 10 times. I just grabbed my paddle. Guess I was ready to shove it into the alligator's mouth. I didn't know what else to do. Caught me totally by surprise.
So you have it in you to wrestle with alligators. That's part of your
No,
personality.
I'm gonna shove the paddle in her mouth, and I'm gonna start paddling away. There's no
Amazing.
wrestling involved.
Another analogy I think about in that context, I think about a quarterback in football standing in the pocket, and the pocket's collapsing, and his job is to stay focused on the goal and really read the patterns and the receivers and see what's his best option. I think about that with people who stutter when they feel everything closing in on them, the timing and the pressure, and they're going to lose the talking turn, they're going to lose the moment. Is their speech going to cooperate? I think of, needing to develop that muscle of standing in the pocket and just reading where you want to go, and then make your decision and commit, and obviously protect yourself at the same time. But listen, I do hope to go kayaking, but I'd like to go on a route where we have less of a chance of running in with your alligator friend.
You got it.
So as soon as it's safe, I'll
Open invite. Okay.
I got a date with you kayaking in Florida, and I'm waiting to get out to see Glenn Waybright out in Seattle. We have a date as well. Portland, which one was he in? Now I'm confused. Seattle. But we went when we were at the Stuttering Foundation of America Eastern Conference in Boston. Glenn and I were roommates because there weren't that many men there. So we had a whole suite to ourselves.
Oh, okay.
Epic time kayaking. My other kayaking experience, which you probably would love, was in the New York Harbor, going around the Statue of Liberty.
Wow.
Not the kind of place you want to fall in the water. No alligators, but lots of ferries.
Yeah. Wow.
It's been a pleasure. It looks like your boat is about to dock. So we want to hold you up. Any parting wisdom, any parting words or wishes that you'd like to see in the future from what can happen for the world of people who stutter?
I'd like to first of all thank you and your father for always being there for us. You are pillars of the stuttering support professional community. Thank you for your service to us. We can always count on you being there for us. Your innovations and your dedication to our cause has been extremely helpful. So thank you very much.
It's an honor.
Also want to invite the support group leaders to join the World Stuttering Network and become part of this conversation. We're going to bring everyone together, and we'd like you to be involved.
Beautiful. Well, what beautiful words. Thank you for your generous words. Certainly we are there for you and anyone that feels that there's a way that we could be helpful. We can all help each other. We all have what to give, and we'll all be better off when we give. So everybody's got something to give. I encourage everyone to reach out to Tom. As he said, you can reach out on Messenger to Tom Scharstein on Facebook Messenger. I'll also post his email. And this entire conversation will be posted on our website on the blog page with all the other conversations with great people. Check out schneiderspeech.com. On the homepage, you can access everything from the online course opportunity, group therapy, blogs, movies, podcasts, everything you could want. And on the blog page is where you'll find all these recorded conversations and wisdom. Thank you very much. Check out Tom and the World Stuttering Network. Big things are coming, and know that you're not alone. No matter where you are, no matter what situation you're in, Facebook has given us the opportunity, social media, Instagram connects us. We can take it to the next level by having these conversations on Zoom, through support meetings, National Stuttering Association, and so many others. Thank you for the time, Tom, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon, but until then, maybe we'll Zoom again.
All right, sounds good, Uri.
All the best. Stay safe. Watch out for the alligators.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
I will see you, my friend.